Welcome to this podcast, Married to His Will. I am Suzette Blunt, your host and licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. If you're listening for the first time, I welcome you wholeheartedly. If you're in a struggle and feeling stuck, you have come to the right place. This podcast is made just for you, so that you will know you can become unstuck. I knew I was married to God's will the day I gave up what I thought I knew to discover what He wanted me to know. Purpose found me in that moment and I let go. God was going to use my struggle to bless my life and to bless others. I realized that I did not have to suffer a miserable and toxic relationship or any kind of bad situation for the rest of my life to remain a chosen servant of God. And that the purpose of salvation was not just from eternal hell, but for situations beyond my ability to manage. I became free from a place of bondage so that you can be free also. The Bible says no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful and He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation He will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. God will provide a way of escape out of that struggle you face. He did that for me. He allowed me to endure 19 years of the same struggle and then said, I am bringing you out so that you can become who I have called you to become. And now I am totally devoted and married to His will. Whether you're single, married, or whatever your status is, this podcast is for you. Invite your friends on the journey with me as I bring the word, share personal stories, and clinical insights from my expertise and knowledge. And I plan to have others join me along the way. Enjoy this next episode. Hello. Welcome to this episode of Married to His Will. Today, I am so excited because I have a wonderful guest who is going to bless your socks off. I know her as a powerhouse, okay? I know her as Pastor Jen Watson. She has been around for a long time, right? We're peers. We have, we call each other sister because we're actually, we probably talk every day or every other day by text with myself and my other two sisters. And so she has really become family to me. And so I'm so privileged to have her as a guest on my podcast. And this woman has graced many stages. I mean, before I became familiar with her personally, I saw her on stages, preaching, even in the United Churches as I grew up in that organization. Being even younger than I am, she has been preaching for a while. And so I'm happy to have her join me today. She is a mother, she's a wife, she's a pastor. And she wears many hats very gracefully. So as she joins us today, I pray that you will be empowered as she speaks, because I know she's going to bless you with a word. And as I always say, God always leads the conversation and He will give you exactly what you need today. So have an open heart and welcome my friend, Jennifer Watson. Okay, welcome, Jen. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Suzette. I'm excited.
Yeah, so, okay, we have the lovely Pastor Jen Watson. Now, I see you as Jen M. Watson on Facebook, right?
Right.
I don't know if you ever reveal is that your middle name? The M.
It is. It's Michelle, actually.
I love that name, Michelle. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think it's my first time knowing that, which is a shame because I've known you for a while.
Right.
Thanks again for your yes. I've been saying that to you since you've been telling me that you'd come on. So, um, you are such a powerhouse, and I've always admired you. And
Mm,
sometimes I don't know how much you know that, but you inspire so many people. And I have had the privilege of being around you and among your family. And we've, been
mm,
in the same circles for a long time, coming from
right,
United Churches.
right.
Um, and so when I thought about you, I thought of you previously, but I saw a message that you posted on Facebook, and you're always posting. You've been preaching for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but the thought came to me as I was watching that recent video, and I don't even ask me what it was on right now because there's so much on my mind. But when I
Right.
listened to it, I said, okay, this is God wanted me to hear you at that moment. I felt it was in the moment when He told me I need to empower women. And when
Mm.
I heard you, I'm like, okay, she is perfect for the next session or the next
Mm-hmm.
segment. And this is how the Lord has been leading me with this podcast. Just as He brings someone before me, I said,
Yeah.
okay, God, that's the one. And so I'm
Yeah.
thankful for His leadership here. And so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna maybe you can tell them if you know even how we met. I mean, maybe we just met by the way, but I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you remember exactly how we met.
I feel like it was, by the way, Suzette. I feel like with
Yeah.
you and your twin, I think I just met you guys just through United Church like conferences and services because
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
remember a formal meeting, but somehow by the time I got married to Mark and moved to New Jersey, I just knew I already knew you guys. So
Right.
I think it must have been
Exactly.
through like church services.
Yes, exactly. And then we kind of grew up with Mark too, him and his
Right.
sister. So yeah, so seeing you and how amazingly talented you are and just preaching the gospel. I think you led the youth department or was it the youth? Yes,
Yes.
for the United Churches. So we're coming a far away, way, way back. I don't know how long you were
Yeah.
the youth president of the United Churches. Do you remember?
I did that for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was offered to do it for 6, but I just took the 4 because at that point I had become a new mom and I was like, it was just a lot going on.
Of course. And sometimes you have to make those decisions, right? When to end something. Yeah, because your life is full and you have a
Right.
lot going on. So I know you're a
Mm-hmm.
pastor and you wear the hat
Yeah.
very well. Let me just say that. You're not just a first
Oh, thank
lady.
you.
They probably call you Lady Jen
Mm-hmm.
too, but you're Pastor Jen. Now, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of want you to talk about your journey to becoming known as Pastor Jen. Like, how did you get there? And how do you feel about even being called that?
Yeah. So my journey to get there is interesting because from day one, Mark actually wanted me to go by pastor, and it was me who said, no. And so some women's experience is that their husband actually tries to hold them back, or the
Mm.
men in their life tried to hold them back. For me, it was the opposite. I was actually trying to hold myself back because
Oh
I
no.
think I felt like, oh, I just don't want to look like that lady that always has to be co-pastor, because some people get so obsessed with like, oh, I'm a co-pastor, and then I felt
Mhm.
like I don't want people to think that I'm trying to be Mark. I don't want people to think
Right.
this. I don't want them to think that. And
Mm.
so when our church first started, people were saying Lady Jen because I was just more comfortable with that, since that's what I had seen my mom do and
Yes.
so on and so forth. And so I remember it came to a head one day when Mark was saying, Jen, it's really bothering me because I feel like God keeps showing me that He's called you to be a pastor. And
Wow.
even though it's not that God wants us to be caught up in titles, the Lord is impressing it upon me that you need to use the title, because for you specifically, you're not using it because of, it's just fear and wanting
Yeah.
to be boxed in. And God is like, you need to embrace what you're actually called. And
Wow.
so I remember, the audience may not know this, but I am in a group chat with Suzette and her sisters.
Yes.
And
We are
so,
sisters, y'all.
yes,
We adopted her.
so they did. And I remember in the group chat, putting it in there, and people, I mean, all three of you, Suzanne, Davina, you're all like, okay, Jen, but we've seen that. Like, that's not, because I had said, oh, Mark's going to start calling me Pastor Jen and he wants to do this installation. And you guys were like, okay, but we saw that. Like, what? I mean, it just wasn't even a thing for you guys.
Right. So, we saw that a long time. Okay.
Yeah. And I think, Suzette, more than I realized, there were some men in my life when I was younger that did feel as if women could preach, but they shouldn't pastor.
Wow.
And I think that somewhere planted a seed in my heart that I didn't even realize I was embracing, even though I would see female pastors and I wouldn't have a problem with it. But then I think because I had heard some of those comments from some of the men in my life that I really respected, I think sometimes I felt like, well, it's okay for them, but I should just, maybe I thought somewhere subconsciously I was somehow even going to lose their respect or, and so I think that's why I was like, hey, just don't give me that title. But once my husband sat down with me and said, God is just not leaving me alone about this. I went and I prayed about it, and God is like, this is what I've called you to do. And you have to embrace it. And I realized, Suzette, me embracing that might have been the step that I needed to take so another woman could take her step, whatever her step was. And so it has gotten to a point now where at Link Church, I mean, everyone says pastor now. And I had to get used to that because ever since Mark started that whole terminology, it's almost like, Suzette, people just made the switch instantly. Right. I mean, people didn't even hang on to saying Lady Jen it was almost like people were also must have been waiting. And I didn't realize.
Yes, he affirmed it. He just said it, it validated it, and everyone went with it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. But, that really does, the journey you're speaking of, is getting over what people think.
Yes.
Because, and you're speaking to me, and I guess God is really making it clear what we're talking about today. Okay. Like I told you, he doesn't tell me till I'm in the middle of the conversation.
Right.
And I feel like even in this moment, he's empowering me because I've been hearing that for a long time, even about myself, my calling, who I am. God has told me, but to embrace it was like, well, I don't know, Lord. I mean, people can say all kinds of things and say you probably shouldn't say or something. But if God has told you, you should embrace it. And yes, he will send men to affirm and lay hands and all of that. But who better to know from but God?
Yes.
God,
yes.
Who you're called to be. And there's no shame in that. And I will put the scripture here because it does says, he is the one that gave some. He gave some apostles, pastors, teachers,
Right.
Man didn't give it to us, but we obviously always wait for men to give it to us. This is how we were raised in the church, to wait for somebody to tell us. At least that's how I was raised.
Oh, yeah.
So it's taken me a long time to embrace, my calling. And someone recently told me, you're a pastor. And I said, well, I've been afraid to say that, but the Lord has been speaking it to me for a long time.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I'm saying that publicly with you here. But I feel like God has called you in this moment to affirm me and to affirm those who are listening to the position God has called them to. Because it wasn't by coincidence that he made me a therapist. And every time I saw how it is in line with what he's called me to do. And, there's more to it. But I'm just so thankful for your yes again to your calling. And for you embracing that title. Because we kind of diminish the titles these days. What do you think about that?
We do. I think we do diminish the titles. And I think it's because the church has gone through such a difficult season, like when we were growing up. And that difficult season was many of us saw people who had titles and they were so obsessed with titles. They were not obsessed with the work. And so the generation coming up behind, like our parents, decided, well, we're not going to be title crazy and this and that. But I do know, I was just telling someone today, says that it's so interesting. One of the meetings I had this morning, without even planning it, I said to the person I was meeting with, that God wanted them to know that he works within structure and planning. Because this particular person was kind of like going through life frivolously. And, there are times when, yes, we do have to be flexible and open. But then I think sometimes our generation has gone to the extreme of, we're not going to have any structure. We're not going to have any titles. We're not, but God works even within that.
Yes, he
and
does.
So I think sometimes what has happened is now our generation has gone to the other extreme where we're almost make people ashamed to embrace a title.
Yeah. And that's a shame. It's because of the people before us that maybe have gone on an ego trip about it,
Right.
And I know for myself how obsessed I might have been at one point, or maybe I revered men because they had a title, but really the work is what should speak first before the position or the title is given. So that person have worked for the title before it comes on them, before they're given it, and so it's important for us to be responsible with our work, not so much to want to uphold the title per se in name, like somebody has to call me pastor this or like I'm not even looking for that. But I want it to also be known that I am this, so that I am letting people know this is the role, this is the position that has put me in, and I can speak confidently. So he's the one that's qualified me to shepherd you, to take you from here to there. And he has qualified you. He has qualified you, Jen.
Yes.
And I'm just so thankful that you have embraced your calling.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, I realize, Suzette, how much peace comes with that. Because sometimes we spend all this time running because we're like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with what someone's going to think. But the way how God works, you will be way more, as much as certain things take us out of our comfort zone when we're doing the will of God, you will always be more uncomfortable outside of your calling than you will within your calling. Because when you're in your calling, you may be uncomfortable, but you have peace.
Yes.
But when you keep running, you not only are outside of your comfort zone because there's something that's nagging at you, knowing you're not really supposed to be running, but then you have no peace. At least it's an interesting dichotomy where when I am in the will of God, I can be uncomfortable but still have peace at the same time.
Oh my gosh. When I'm in the will of God, I can be uncomfortable but still have peace.
Yes.
Because in his will, everything is set in order. Everything is according to his plan.
Right.
So, I mean, our plans fail all the time. All the time. So to try to be in somebody's lane or another lane that is it feels familiar and it feels comfortable, but it may not be what you're gifted for.
Exactly.
It's not what God really wants you to do. Then you're going to wreck the whole thing. Okay.
Right.
Yes. You're going to wreck it. Wow. So, but when you're in position, you'll start to see the fruit. You'll start to see the fruit of it. He'll start sending people to you, for you to help them in that, specific area. And so speaking of, your journey to pastoring, I mean, it took a while for you to embrace it or to say, this is so Mark, Pastor Mark Watson, he's the one, and you both lead the church Link. I mean, I'd like for you to talk a little bit about how it has been for you. How did you guys, how did it come about for you when the church Link, like, did Mark come to you and say, I want to start Link Church? And I mean, how did that feel?
So
did you embrace it right away?
So interestingly enough, I saw us leaving New Jersey about 5 years before we left.
Okay.
And initially my husband didn't see it. So he's born and raised in New Jersey. I have moved around a lot with my parents. My dad always was getting shift for different ministry assignments within United Church. So I guess I've never felt like I have to stay in one state or one place. Moving just doesn't bother me.
Right.
But I think he felt like he was born and raised here. He needed to help the church there. And so when I first saw that we should transition and I mentioned it to him, he just couldn't see it. Like,
Wow.
I think he could see pastoring, but not outside of the confines of where we were.
Yes.
And I was bringing it up to him, Suzette, and I brought it up so many times that it had started to create a wedge between us.
Wow.
And I never forget, I was in prayer one day and God said to me, Jen, at this point, you have to close your mouth, because if you continue to bring it up to Mark, you're going to set this, what I want to do through you, you're going to set it back by years, because the wedge is going to become so great between the two of you that I won't even be able to move the way I want to move, because I'm going to be busy trying to repair you guys. And it's all going to be because you couldn't close your mouth.
Wow.
So I then, Suzette, I think I spent about a year bringing it up to him here and there. I spent the next 4 years. Now, someone may be saying, oh, 4 years is not a long time. It feels long when you know that you're like being transitioned out.
Yes.
So I spent the next 4 years literally not saying anything to him, just praying about it and praying about it and praying about it. And one day, Mark had an experience that had him call me and say, Jen, it's time for us to go.
Wow.
I have to go.
Just like that.
Yes. And he said that what God said to him is the only thing you have to do before you leave New Jersey is build your dad a physical church. Like, you have to build him the physical building. And from after, once you've done that, you are free to go. And God would have it that we, the church found a spot of land. Mark became the project manager. Some people don't even know he gave up his job to become a full-time project manager for the church. So we took an enormous pay cut the final year that we were in New Jersey.
What a sacrifice.
Yes. Took a big pay cut so that he could work for the church, get the job done. And it was at that point that God released us. And when we put our townhouse on the market, we didn't even put it on the market in what's considered prime time, like spring, summer, they say is the best time to sell your house. We put it on the market. And I remember praying, Suzette, and I just kept hearing God say, give me 14 days. Give me 14 days. Wow. So I said, okay, the house sold in 11 days from when God said, give me 14 days.
Wow.
So
amazing.
many, yeah. And you know, what's also interesting, Suzette, is I had a dream when I first started talking to Mark that I was in the state of New Jersey and I was alive, I was well, I was talking. But as I was talking, people that I didn't even like recognize in the dream were taking cement and they were burying me in cement. As I'm talking, they're just throwing cement. And it was somebody from your former church in New York who I knew it was God, because she didn't even have my number. She had to call Suzanne to say, I need to speak to Mark Watson's wife. I had never talked to her on the phone or anything. She's like, I need to speak to his wife. And she said to me, I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know what God is dealing with you on, but something about where you are now, it's like you're being buried alive. And if you stay there too long, you'll be alive in the physical, but spiritually, it's like you're just going to be covered up, muted. And it was hard, Suzette, because I know that so many people in New Jersey love us and didn't want us to leave. But I had to recognize it wasn't about them being bad people, but it's just about if a season is up,
you have to go.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me before. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, even when I left Maryland, that was the same concept. It was time to go.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a big rush. Like I had to go.
Yes.
And so we definitely have to, you know, heed the call of God when he says, this season is up, go here, go there. Yeah, exactly. You are an ambassador. You better listen.
Right. And that even goes to doing what God wants and not what people want, because
that's it.
I mean, Suzette, I'll never forget, Suzette, one thing that like broke my heart was I remember the Sunday when Mark's dad had to announce that we were going to be transitioning out. Once our house sold, that was really the last thing that needed to be completed. So his dad knew. Mark had been having conversations with his dad, though, from a long time before. And so his dad knew, okay, the church is built. And then the last thing to do is, you know, for us to sell the house. So his dad had to make an announcement to the church because we didn't want to be here one Sunday, gone the next. And I'll never forget, Suzette, the amount of people that just broke into tears. And one of the young people said, is this some type of like late April Fool's joke?
Wow.
And we were like, unfortunately, it's not a joke. And those things weigh on you. But Mark said something when we got in the car. He was like, Jen, for as much as some people's hearts feel like they're breaking over this, he said, one, they're going to be fine because this is God's will for everybody. And two, he was like, I only get to pass through earth one time. Wow. So I don't want to be 50, 60, 70 years old and wonder, man, life is okay, but what would have been if I had just gone to Charlotte? He's like, I'd rather go to Charlotte and fail and know that at least I tried it than to stay stuck and have to look back in my old age and say, I made everybody else happy, but I was never fulfilled.
That's so important. I mean, it's the whole thing about this podcast becoming unstuck from people's ideas, of what you think, because you really don't know what people think of you, but because of what people have said over time, maybe how we've been, what we've heard growing up, just that we know culturally or traditionally how the people around us were thinking. Right. And so those things keep us stuck, and our beliefs. God has to literally renew our minds and take us through a process of change for us to accept you don't have to stay there.
Yes. No, you don't have to stay there. And the thing is, Suzette, I'm like, I now feel as if, man, even though none of us are in our 50s or 60s yet, I already know when I get there, that I'm going to be able to look back and say, man, I'm glad that we went for it. I'm glad that we tried it. And the thing about it is we tried it, but it's working because it was God's will. Because somebody said to me before I left, when you guys plant the church, if it just completely collapses and fails, you can always come back. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to accept that, because if God called me to something, it's not going to collapse or fail.
Exactly. I love that confidence that you speak with and that assertiveness. Yes, we can't allow people to come in and tell us what they think the real dream is, or the thing that God is saying. You really have to know what God has told you. I'm telling you. Yes. This is a season where I am discerning left, right, and center. It's like people are coming from different places. And I have to be so sure about what God told me. Because it will have me all over the place.
Exactly.
I cannot listen to people's opinions and ride with that as if that's God's word. Right. I have to know what God said to me.
Exactly. Yes.
Look at Noah. If you look at Noah in the Bible, imagine if he listened to everybody's ideas around him when God was telling him to build an ark. They had no clue. They had no reference to to validate what he was doing.
Exactly.
It didn't make sense.
Right. Had never rained before.
Never rained before. Okay. What are you talking about?
Right.
And it's the same with me. There's something God has put in my heart. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. And I'm questioning myself. Well, am I crazy? Because I know you told me, Lord, that something else, somebody else, or some wind come around, and you're hearing something, and you're like, God, okay, I feel so stupid right now. You got to make it plainer.
Right.
But you have to be firm on what you heard. Abraham had to walk by faith and be firm on what he heard, even when it came down to executing his son. Okay, and he never had. God stopped him from doing it, but his obedience, right,
exactly,
showed him God even more.
It's true.
Wow. So here you are moving from New Jersey. It was hard for people to accept that, I'm sure. But what stuck with me is what you said. 5 years prior to that, God had told you.
Yes. And I didn't even know then. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, so many women don't know the power that they have to see, even in their marriage.
Yeah.
I feel like the woman becomes this real helper, this prophetic voice for the vision.
Yes, Suzette. Yes. And you're right, because even though I didn't know the place, the only thing
Yes.
God had started showing me was that you're not supposed to, like, your story just doesn't end in New Jersey.
Yes.
And you're right about women being
Mhm.
a helpmeet in that way. I mean, God
Yes.
doesn't give us the ability to see just to see. We're supposed
No.
to see so we can help. And even though my husband couldn't see it at first, and a lot of women, you are going to experience that. A lot of times the man isn't going to see it when you initially bring it up.
Yeah.
But I think the key is that the way I was a helpmeet all those years I couldn't talk about it was the prayers that I was praying and the
Wow.
seeds I was planting in prayer that God would open up my husband's eyes. Because
Mm.
one thing I remember my mom saying to me is that anything in your marriage that maybe you see first and you really feel like Mark needs to get on board, she was like, all you have to do is pray, because if it's from God, his eyes will
Yes.
be opened. That's going to be the
Amen.
test. And if his
Amen.
eyes aren't open, then maybe something needs to be reevaluated.
Yes, absolutely. But I think that's the humility that we struggle as women to have too, because God
Right.
will show us so much, and we have to learn when to keep that mouth
Oh,
closed.
yes. Yes. And that is
That's
tough
the
for most of
strength.
us.
Yes, it's hard.
Yes. Because we want them to just get it. Because it's
Yes,
almost like God shows it to us as women and we can just immediately absorb it. So we just
yes,
feel like, well, why can't you get this?
yes. And you feel it so strong. You're like, you're way ahead. And he's
Right.
like, chill, nonchalant, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's not
exactly.
now.
Right.
Oh God. But I love that you talked about that, because even if you weren't married, God
Hmm.
had a calling for you.
Right.
And that's also the other point I wanted to make.
Hmm.
So, if you're married or not, the fact that you're married is awesome, because two are better than one, right? But
Right.
God had already had a plan for you to be Pastor Jen, even
Right.
without Mark.
Right.
Let me just say that, because I want to empower the women out there too who think they need somebody to be what God has
Mm.
told them they are.
Right. I agree with that, Suzette. I know
Yes.
that to be true. And that's why I'm glad that I was called to the ministry before I got married.
Yes.
So that I don't have to hang my hat on and say, oh, the line of demarcation was I got married, then God called me to ministry. I mean, I started
Right.
preaching while I was single. I started developing a prayer life while I was single. Because the reality, what people don't know about me, Suzette, is that I got married young, but I actually always wanted to be married, but I actually didn't. My plan was to not get married young. And that's what people don't know.
Wow. Which was
I,
opposite of me.
yeah,
I got married young, but I really wanted to get married young. I was fascinated with marriage, which is
yeah.
so different. It really, wow.
I
I wish I
actually
was as
had
mature as you.
I actually had decided that I wanted to serve God for a certain number of years before getting married, because I felt
Wow.
like I really just want to give God just as much as I can. And I just know when we get married, it's not that we stop serving God, but it's different. And then when kids
Yes.
come in the picture. So I remember saying to God when I was 17, I'll never forget, I was in the house by myself. My parents had gone to a conference. I was home alone. I just started praying. By the way, Suzette, all these single women who are single and don't have any kids need to know this is the time to be consecrated, because there's no distraction.
Okay.
So, I mean, those are years
Woo.
I literally will never get back.
Yes.
I'll
Because they
never
were
get them
cool.
back,
No,
because even as
hmm
my kids get grown, they'll always need me in some way. So I'll never get
always.
those days back. But I was 17, praying, crying out to God. And I remember saying to God, Suzette, that day, God, I don't want to get married too young. I don't want to get
Yeah.
married young, because I literally just want to spend a good portion of my 20s living for you. And then I said to him,
Wow.
and I don't want to marry a pastor.
Oh God.
And both of those things were ignored. I was married
Oh
at
wow.
22, and I
Oh
did marry
God.
someone who was called to pastor. I think the pastor part, though, is I had just seen the heartache my parents had suffered as pastors, and I
Right.
think the enemy
Right.
had me focusing on all of the heartache and none of the good things. They've had a rewarding life, but I think the enemy had me focusing just on the tough parts, the grief parts of it. And so I was like, oh man, keep
Why
me
wouldn't he
away
call
from
you
that.
to it? You saw
Yeah.
you saw pastors, you saw them in action.
Yeah. I mean, I saw my
So,
parents open up their home to
yes.
people who there was, a family that lived with us for months. I mean, for months. And to see the level of betrayal that came after that. Those are the types
Wow.
of things that as a child, they really do stick with you. And then I saw my parents, Suzette, get up, keep it moving. They never spoke ill about this family. They never went to anyone in the church and said the full story. And
Right.
so as a kid, you watch that and you think to yourself, if that's what that requires, I don't want that.
Yeah. It doesn't look too good.
Yeah.
It's not appealing, right? Not something
Right.
you want to go after. So yeah, pastoring, I'm sure it's getting dirty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because if you think of the shepherd and the sheep, it's a dirty job.
Exactly. It
It
is. That's a
really
great
is.
way to listen. We always focus on David the king and forget about David the
Yes,
shepherd
the
boy.
shepherd. That is where it is. Oh my gosh! So even the lights that we the way we emphasize titles with the glitter and the light, it's really work.
It is. It is
It's
work.
really work. Yeah.
Yes. And it's funny because I remember doing an interview with you and Suzanne a couple years ago, and you guys were asking each guest, what Bible character do they identify with? And when I said Esther, sometimes people see that and they're like, oh, queen and royal. Yes, but God showed me years ago, a true queen is actually a woman that knows how to work and
Girl,
knows how to
yes.
plow. Like a true
Yes.
queen does not sit back with nothing to do. So,
Yes.
I mean, for me, saying that I identify with Esther has nothing to do with, or doesn't have solely to do with feeling like
Yes.
royalty and feeling like, I wear a crown, but it's because I also know the work that's involved. And that's why Mark said he wanted me to carry the title, because he said, Jen, what people don't see is all of the work that you do behind the scenes right along with me.
Yes. You're that Proverbs 31 woman. And I know you used to push that too.
Yeah.
In your blogs and
Yes.
so on. I don't know how much you've talked about that ministry in a while.
It has been a while since I brought that up. Suzette is going back into the archives.
Yes, that just came back to me. I remember seeing your post about the Proverb 31 woman. So I think I know you well for that, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, wearing the title of pastor's wife or even first lady for a lot of people who may have a misconception. It's not about a reserved parking spot. I mean, that is, I wish that was the least of our worries.
Yes. I know Suzanne was adamant. Don't call me first lady. Okay.
Right.
She was not wanting that. I was like, why? It's honorable. She was like,
right. Right.
But look at, but she's also being raised as pastor as well. So
yeah.
It's just really, again, we are not looking at the glimmer, the lights. Right. It's really, really work. And I think where people had missed the mark is using titles to usurp authority over people, and that wasn't the real reason for it. It's really God is putting the body in order. Jesus himself gave us an example of how to serve.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
Right?
And Suzette, I almost feel led to tell someone on the flip side that if you are a first lady and you know that you are just not personally called to be a pastor, that's okay too. You know? Because there are some pastors' wives who really aren't. They'll tell you, I know I'm not called to preach. I know a pastor's wife, Suzette, in Texas. She was called to children's ministry. So she was beautiful. She really caused that children's ministry to grow and to flourish. And she's since given it to someone else. But she said sometimes on the reverse, she would look at a woman like me and be like, man, I don't have that. But I'm like, but you have built.
We shouldn't have to compare.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you're that pastor's wife who's like, hey, I'm actually called to, work the sound, or I'm called to, that's
Yeah.
okay too.
Oh my goodness. That we all have different gifts. Just because you're the wife of the pastor doesn't mean you shouldn't serve in the area God also called you to serve.
Exactly.
Because you're an
Exactly.
example to the whole church. You're in front, even if you're an usher. You're
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And we have to
Exactly.
stop putting these levels on these gifts, like, or
Right.
these positions. We have to honor every place of every position of serving, every
Exactly.
part of the body, because we
Yes.
all matter. We talk about
Exactly.
Black Lives Matter.
Right.
every every part of the body matters. Okay,
Right.
every single toenail, fingernail, hair strand, all part of us
Yes.
matter
Exactly.
in the
Exactly.
body. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think coming back to, your position as pastor. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know you come upon different issues, right?
Right.
I know you and Mark specifically counsel couples and individuals. Because
Right.
people come to your church and it's a growing church. I've seen you guys go, I mean, I'm sure you guys have had to go through the growing pains
Right.
to be where you are today. But yes, tell me about a little bit about how, you know, how you guys come together on the matter of counseling, and when do you know when it's time to like send them off to a licensed professional because maybe it's
Right.
just a different thing. What do you think about
Right.
that?
Yeah, we're big on number one, promoting mental health in our church and really
Yeah.
trying to break that stigma that says, I only go to a counselor if I'm actually going insane. Where I'm like, no, you
Right.
want to get to a counselor so you don't go insane. Uh,
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
we're big on promoting that. And
Mhm.
usually what we do is we have a rule of thumb where we will meet with an individual or a couple. Usually our rule of thumb is anywhere from 2 to 3 times. And we tell the
Okay.
couple up front, we're so big on mental health that we're going to meet with
Mhm.
you for 2 to 3 times. If after the second or third meeting, we see that this is outside of our scope, we will be
Mhm.
referring you to a professional counselor. And usually
Okay.
how we can determine that, Suzette, is when issues start to come out that yes, they may have a spiritual component, but we know that this person literally needs some practical steps, practical
Yes.
homework to work through that.
Yes.
That's when we
Mhm.
refer them out because we say
Mhm.
to them, we'll always be praying for you because we're your pastors. So that's a given.
Yes.
But
Yes.
there are some deep seated issues here, and we know
Mhm.
it takes work, but we're not necessarily sure what type of work. So you need to
Exactly.
go to somebody who is trained,
Yes.
and we
That's
always
very
refer to a
Mhm.
faith-based counselor, which is why we have used you, because
Mhm.
we are also big on that. We want our people to go to someone who not only has the professional education and tools, but is also
Yes.
someone who is prayerful and discerning.
Yes.
Because we tell our
Absolutely.
people, listen, you don't have to go to the person we're suggesting, but we do suggest if you don't
Mhm.
choose to call them, you need to call somebody in our area that is faith-based,
Yes.
because I do think that makes a difference.
It
But
does
that's
make
our
a
rule of
difference.
thumb. We do
Yeah,
not,
I love that.
we don't go on for 6 and 7 and 8 sessions, because I think if
Mhm.
you're honest with yourself as a pastor, usually by even 1 or 2 times in, you can say, okay, this person is going to need work that I just
More
don't.
intense work. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, that's the humility that comes with
Hmm.
the position, right? And with every position, we should know where to put a boundary, where our education doesn't take us, or
Right.
where But we know you're qualified as pastors to counsel to a certain extent. But when it
Right.
comes to the mental health, there are professionals who are
Right.
equipped, through education to assist in that way. So I really appreciate you and the partnership we've had over
Yeah.
time, right? And I've been privileged to work with some really great growing clients from your
Yeah.
church. So thank you for that. This
Yeah.
partnership has been great, and I offer that to any church out there. For
Hmm.
pastors who may be struggling um, to partner with other professionals. I have made myself available for that
Right.
as a nationally certified counselor to different churches across um, the United States. So,
Right.
for sure. And being virtual makes it so feasible,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and accessible. So that has been helpful. So thank you for speaking on that because people are suffering with
Yes.
real mental health issues. Just as we may have a broken a bone, we go get medical help. We cannot ignore the mental health
Yeah,
issues that exist, and
exactly.
especially among couples. Sometimes there
Oh
is a
yeah.
barrier to them healing because they're not addressing those underlying barriers, such
Yes.
that
Yes.
stop them from communicating well or something. So,
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Suzette, because I would even say to a pastor, even if you think you can handle an individual or a couple, a lot of
mhm.
times we'll refer out anyway because we're convinced that there are sometimes things that people are hiding because
Yes,
they're on a call or in a meeting with their pastor. And,
yeah,
you know, because God doesn't reveal everything to us,
yes,
a lot of times people are hiding things that unless the Spirit of God says to us, this person is actually, dealing with this or that, we
yeah,
won't know, but we want people to be free enough to get free. And so a lot of times pastors have
absolutely.
to realize that if you're someone's pastor, it's not even that they're trying to be fake, but some people just don't want to go through that deep, dark, hard work with their
Yes,
pastor because it's
yes.
tough because they have to see us every Sunday. Every time there's a prayer night,
There's
they
that
have to see us.
dual
Yeah,
relationship, and in therapy, in the counseling world, we know dual relationship is. We try to avoid that when it comes
right,
to counseling because it can change the boundaries that you need
right.
for therapy to be effective.
Yeah.
But there are times when it's necessary where you can't avoid dual relationship. Like
Hmm.
I serve the community, so I've served my churches, and maybe I run into them in the street, or
Right.
but I set certain stipulations about how we interact, and things like that, so that they
Right.
are, they know the rules of engagement, so to speak.
Right. Right.
Right, as a therapist versus being a friend.
Yeah.
If I'm in church, I'm not communicating with you about anything we talk about in session,
Right.
okay? Because
Right.
I don't want your stuff being heard, and confidentiality is so important, and I
Yeah.
stress that to them. So it will never be coming from me if you're hearing it from someone else.
Right.
So that's very
Exactly.
strict. So thanks for speaking on that. But
Yeah.
I feel like today, so far, what we've been talking about is embracing our calling, staying in our lane, understanding that, if God called you to it, then you're qualified for it. And then even in that position, be humble to the work
Yeah.
that God has given you to
Right.
do, right? And you're demonstrating that as a pastor, and even being in partnership with community workers like myself who are
Hmm.
willing to help on the clinical end. So
Exactly.
thank you for that. I feel like
Yeah.
there's so much more. So I also wanted to ask you about maybe even speaking about some challenges you might have experienced, mentally, and how you overcame it. I know you had a journey to becoming pastor, but
Hmm.
sometimes it's not as easy as we make it sound, make
Right.
it sound to overcome, and get to a place where you are empowered to empower people.
Hmm.
So how did you overcome maybe some of your, I don't know if you ever had any self-esteem issues or anything like that, that you had to speak over yourself, or what did you have to do to get yourself to this place?
Yeah. I think for me, once I embraced becoming a pastor, I think what I had to get over, Suzette, was now not looking at other female pastors and saying,
Yes. Oh
man, I
gosh.
have to look like that or I have to be called to them.
Hmm.
Because
Wow.
Mark and I were talking recently, and I realized is that of late, God has been showing me that I really am called to, especially like, let's say in the lane of prayer. I'm called
Hmm.
to raise people up in prayer. So a lot of times the people that I'm ministering to are people who are starting from ground zero in prayer, or maybe they used to pray, but they haven't prayed and had an active prayer life in so long, they almost have to start from scratch. And so
Hmm.
sometimes I'll find that what I put out on social media as it relates to, prayer, it seems like sometimes to me such a practical, like easy point. Like I remember one time I put something out that said, if you're struggling to pray, just take 3 things that you want to pray for and pray for each of those things for 5 minutes. And before you know it, you would have prayed for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I saw this female pastor and she had this post about, she had this vision and she saw this lion with fire and he was doing this in the United States. And he was doing that. And then she saw like certain amount of people getting free from, this type of financial this. And she was sharing, people were writing in their testimonies like, oh my God, you prophesied about this. And I received, and then I'm looking at my post that said, here's how to pray for 15 minutes. And I said, man, Mark, I feel like this is so basic, But I remember what God said to me, Suzette, when he was like, but Jen, I've called you specifically to raise people up to pray. He was like, everyone can't show people what it's like to already be on the mountain. Like,
Amen.
Some people don't know how to get there. He was like, I need somebody who can show people that, this person may be at their mountaintop experience with prayer, but he was like, somebody has to come down from the mountain and tell people how to get there. And I think that might have been one of my biggest struggles as I started to embrace the call to pastor, also embracing, Suzette, just God's timing, because people have asked me, how come you haven't done a women's conference yet? And the simplest answer I can give them is the true answer, which is that God has just said to me, Jen, just keep building. I'll let you know when it's time. Then what happens? You see all these women pastors around you doing these conferences, bringing in these speakers. And God just keeps telling me, Suzette, Jen, I will let you know when it's time. And so it's things like that I think I've had to overcome. But now I'm no longer feeling self-conscious about it. So now when people say, oh my gosh, Pastor Jen, you have this, you have that, you still haven't done a conference. You know what I say to them, Suzette? When it's time, God will let me know. And I leave it at that. And I just no longer care about whether or not they think I'm being fearful or hesitant, because I know that's not the reason.
Exactly.
I know God has told me when it's time, you will know, because I'll let you know. But I think for me, you know what? Here's a practical way I started getting over some of that. Literally, Suzette, it may sound, so basic, but there were some people on social media I had to unfollow for real.
Wow.
Because I noticed, Suzette, as I kept following them, in my heart, I was starting to feel this thing rising up in me where I did want to compete. Or if I didn't want to compete, I would have other days where I was feeling bad about myself, bad about the fact that, man, why hasn't God released me to do a conference yet? Man, how come I haven't done this? And there's literally people, Suzette, I have hit unfollow on, and I have not turned back, because I realized it's not that they're bad, but if in me, it means something is rising up, then I'd have to unfollow them. And it's not that they are not true women of God. It's not that they don't have ministries that are impacting people, but it showed me that there was something in me that God had to get out. And when I started unfollowing people that were causing me to want to compare and compete, that's one of the first ways I started getting over it.
Wow. That is so important.
Yeah.
So let me repeat what she said. She's like, unfollow those people that are causing you to compare and want to do things out of God's timing.
Yeah.
If they stop inspiring you and instead having you compare and putting yourself down, it's time to unfollow those people.
Yes. And you have to realize it's not them. It's something in you that God needs to uproot.
Yes. So it's about you, and being assessing yourself is important in the journey.
Right.
It's not they're doing what they're supposed to do. You better make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That self-assessment.
That is so good.
And I mean, I remember being on a Zoom call one time during the pandemic, and the Zoom call was hosted by all pastors' wives. The host wanted, to have a panel of pastors' wives. And again, I had to just sit in what I know God told me, because she was asking for everyone to be transparent on the call. How is the pandemic affecting you? And so many, Suzette, were saying like, oh, it affected me, but ultimately I've been enjoying this time at home because I have more time to pray and this and that. And I remember being transparent enough to say, well, when the pandemic hit, I was nervous because we were in a school. The school told us we were not able to come back because they no longer wanted outside groups for health reasons. We had nowhere to go. And I was wondering, God, what's going to happen to our ministry now that people are starting to reopen and we still don't even have a place to go? What are we going to do? We're still online hanging on like Zoom and YouTube, and churches are now starting to. And so some of the, some of the others on the call were like, well, we weren't really scared about anything. And again, I said, you know what? I just have to sit in who God called me to be, because I've just never been a person that knows how to sugarcoat stuff. So I'm not going to say I wasn't fearful if in that moment I was fearful. I'm going to say I was fearful.
I love that transparency, that honesty.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
what
important.
People need.
That is what people need. And before we got on here, you even spoken to me in that way. And I mean, of course, the public was not privy to hear that because we didn't start recording yet. But just how you appreciated the journey I've been on this podcast, right?
Yeah.
The journey of transparency, which people need. And even today, I've been transparent about where I see God taking me. And even the fact that, you're here, God will show me who I am through specific people, right?
Wow.
Like even today, just the way we started, I didn't know specifically the vein of which God was taking us.
Right.
But we started talking about your call to being a pastor, you being called as a pastor. And it's many years that God has put that in my spirit, but there's no evidence of it, right? In my mind, there was no evidence of it. And pastoring is not just to have a church, right? And there's different ways that pastor, because the fivefold gift doesn't necessarily happen the way we see it sometimes, right? How we see it traditionally exemplified. So pastoring for me is not me having a church and have, it's me being a pastor wherever I am, right? And whoever God put into my life for me to pastor. Like, honestly, right now, I pastor my kids. That's where it starts.
Right.
That's where it starts. They have me right now as a single mom. But where was I going with this? So, but it's just great to see your transparency, even as pastors, to be able to say when, I don't know how transparent you get with your, not necessarily your congregation, but those who he puts around you as a council maybe, or as those people that are the core members, the core group that you have. It's important for them to know that sometimes you're tired and you need to take a break or vacation. And sometimes like we need to go and be poured into, or sometimes we need encouragement, right? Some people are so afraid to show themselves as human.
Yes.
Because of a title.
And it's so interesting, Suzette, because if you think about it, when the crucifixion happened, a lot of people may still not realize that in Jesus's day, when the Romans would crucify people, they were crucified naked. We always see him on the movies with at least like that loincloth, which I get it. I mean, it's a movie, so we don't need to maybe go that far, but he wouldn't have had that on. And he was beaten in front of everyone.
Wow.
And do we ever see a point in scripture where he says, hey, I'm Jesus, I'm the Messiah, make sure you cover up my scars, I don't want people to see them? He was everybody is going to see these scars because I want people to know that no matter how hard you get beaten down and scarred, you can rise again. So what does he do? He makes his scars public, then resurrects himself so that we can see that scars and life will beat you down, but you can get up again. So I don't know why we're hiding our scars. Somebody needs to see our scars so that they can also get up again.
Wow. Oh my God, Jen, you are ministering right now. Somebody needs to see it.
Yeah.
And in that vein, I want you to minister right now. Now, I wanted to talk about your marriage and all that, but we're limited with time. I think you said what you needed to say. I just want you to keep in that vein, minister to the people what's on your heart when it comes to what God has called them to, and even if they feel beaten down, they're still
Mhm.
called. I want you to minister to that person right now.
Yeah, the enemy does a great job of putting us
Mm-hmm.
on a guilt trip. The enemy does
Mm.
a great job of telling us that you are so damaged, you are so beaten down, you are so even inexperienced. There's no way God wants you. And
Yeah.
especially when, for women, I mean, men can go through this too, but especially for women, there's always that double standard. And so sometimes even men can do certain behaviors and nobody thinks about it. Women participate in the same behaviors and all of a sudden they're damaged goods. They're told
Mm-hmm.
that they're not wanted. But I want whoever is watching this, whether you're a male or a female, to know that God wants you.
Yes.
And God has a purpose and he has a plan for you. I want
Yes.
someone to also know that God carried all of your burdens because you're not supposed to be carrying that. The shame that you have, the guilt that you have, the rejection that you feel, that was already nailed to the cross over 2,000 years ago. It's not that is no longer your cross to carry. Your cross to carry is your assignment. Your cross to carry is your purpose. Your cross to carry is the destiny that you're supposed to fulfill. But the shame, the sin, the rejection, the pain, God already carried that. He nailed it to the cross, and you're not supposed to pick it back up. As a matter of fact, Suzette, when Christ would have been beaten, the way the Roman soldiers beat people, they would beat them to the point of not even being able to be recognized. And that's why I love Passion of the Christ, which depicts it the most realistically, I think. When by the time Christ has gone through that beating, you almost can't recognize him. His face is disfigured.
Yes.
And yet, when he is resurrected, we know that all of that would have been gone. So I want someone to know that if you have been saved, if you have actually given your life to Christ, life may have beaten you down to the point of not being recognized.
Yes.
But once you decide to be alive in Christ, once you decide to make Jesus the Lord of your life, when you're resurrected in him, all of that goes away.
Hallelujah.
And I think somebody also needs to know that maybe the reason why you are still stuck where you are is because of the people that you're surrounded by. I feel that somebody watching this is stuck simply because of who they have chosen to partner with in life. And you have to be in a position where you're uncomfortable and allowing God to make you uncomfortable enough to let go of every relationship that is going to keep you stuck. And Suzette, I know that this is going to be unconventional because of how we grew up.
Yes.
But because I know you can appreciate this, I even want to say, even if you're in a marriage where you are being stuck, and I'm not talking about people who just had an argument and they want to get out of jail free card. I'm talking about you're in serious bondage. Or any level of abuse. And I say any level because it's not just physical abuse that is ungodly. Any level of abuse is not of God. Mental, verbal, emotional, financial abuse, any of it. Even if you're in a marriage that God doesn't want you in, I want you to be bold enough to even ask him, God, what is my exit strategy? And I listen. Suzette, I don't know why I said that, but I'm like, I know it's unconventional because the circles we come from, they make you feel like you tough it out even no matter what.
No. And because of what God has told me, I can't fear saying it anymore because there are people stuck in places God did not design them to be, first of all.
Yes.
And we can say abuse and all of that is important to acknowledge. It's not just a simple hardship that makes you just it's not something you should just come out of.
Exactly.
Right? And marriage, you take your vows very seriously.
Yes.
But I want to say, if any marriage stops you from your calling and your purpose, That is not the
Mm-hmm.
marriage God ordained.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you are stuck in a place where you are, I mean, inside you are dying and you've been suffering for years, 20 years, and you're waiting for somebody
Mm.
to move that
Mm.
thing, to give
Yeah.
you permission, and you've been hearing it, but because you're worried about what people are gonna say, which we
Yes.
said
Yes.
earlier, that is the
Yes.
thing, that is the culprit. We wanna save ourselves from what looks shameful.
Right. Right.
Right?
Exactly.
But
Yes.
God is not the one, He would not be the one to condemn you. It's your own heart.
It's true, Suzette. It's true. And I mean,
Yes,
even you, Suzette, you have
yes.
not been and you will not be brought to shame. I feel like saying that to you,
Amen.
even though it's for you, even in the
Yes.
presence of other people, you're not going to be brought to shame. You just will
Amen.
not be brought to shame.
Amen. I trust God to that
Yeah.
T.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that He has me on this journey for a purpose, and He will use a bad situation, especially
Mm-hmm.
for the person that loves God. The Bible says all
Yes.
things, He's
Yes.
wasting nothing. All
Exactly.
things work together. So even the evil that is against you, He'll use it
Yes.
for your
Yes.
good.
It's true, Suzette. I mean, I think about there was a gospel singer. I can't even remember her name right now, but she was a Nigerian gospel singer. She
Okay.
was in her testimony, Suzette, is that she was in a marriage that was abusive, and some of her
Mm,
fellow, you know, women in the industry and men all said to
yeah.
her, you actually need to get out. And if you need
Wow.
help, we will stand by you, because they were saying how
Mm,
in their culture, even though there's different tribes in Nigeria, they were just saying, generally speaking, in the church, especially,
yeah.
that culture is really against divorce. And she was like, no, I'm just going
Yes.
to pray. They were like, this guy, no, you need to get out. You need to get out. You need
Yeah.
to get out. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, Suzette, she ended up passing away
Wow. Jeez. And
in
that
the
was my
abuse,
fear.
in the
Let me tell
abuse.
you. Oh my God. Sorry.
And
She
now her
passed
kids,
away. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
she passed away in the abuse as a result of the abuse. And now her kids, the story was so public. I think they said her husband is now behind bars, in their country.
Wow.
Um, but now the kids not only don't they have a dad because he's behind
Yeah.
bars, but the mom is literally gone
Wow.
because she said she was so afraid it was going to affect her ministry. And these
Wow.
people were telling her, who cares about the people in the industry that are going to shame you? We will stand
Yeah.
by you. And that's the thing. God will give you people to stand by you.
You cannot put anyone above God.
No.
If not even your husband, not even
Yep.
your wife, they do
Yep.
not become before your relationship with God. Your status does
Yes.
not supersede your relationship with God.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay? It's not a heaven or hell issue if you divorce. Let me just say
Right.
that.
Right.
And listen, but the main thing is your obedience to God.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm not ever going to tell somebody to leave their marriage if they have not been given the word of God or told by
Right.
God it's time to release that.
Right.
I
Right.
God is the one that told me to release myself from the place I was in.
Right.
So you
Right.
need to have a relationship with God and
Yeah.
know what He's telling you for your life.
Yeah.
But some
Yeah.
things are common sense. You do not want to be in a place where you're being
Mhm.
abused.
Yes. Exactly. That's never God's will for his children.
Never God's will.
Yeah.
He does not call us to live in misery with men. He called us to live in peace.
Right.
Pursue peace.
Yes.
Right? So we use individual scriptures to, validate why things are wrong or why things are right. But we have to use line upon line. We don't serve a black and white God. It's not
Right.
just hard and fast.
That's
Right?
true.
There's so many circumstances that God accounts for.
That's true.
So, so He cares about you as an individual.
Yes.
Just know that He knows your cries. Let me tell you, there's a courtroom in heaven, right? Jesus
Mm-hmm.
paid the price for
Right.
your sins. So He knew there were circumstances that you alone could not get yourself free from. Not just to save your
Right.
soul from hell, but there are actually earthly circumstances that seem impossible for you to get out of. And Jesus
Right.
paid the price for you to be free.
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely, Suzette. And I love what you added there, though, that you
Yes.
said, even with your own testimony, you would still tell people you need to go to God about your
Yes.
own specific situation. And you're
Yes.
right to say God is not
Mhm.
black and white, because
Yes.
there's certain things that, okay, we can see in the Bible that he has said, like when we see the Ten
Yes.
Commandments, that's an
Yes.
example of black and white. But Suzette,
Exactly.
when it comes to just life, I mean, God will tell one person to do something, and he could tell the same person, you're not allowed to do that.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right? There's the law and then there's grace. Somehow grace and law comes together and it works together. But let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, there is revelation. We don't know all about everything that God does and what he says
Right.
and he's continuing to speak. So every
Yes.
time I come on this podcast, I said, you don't live by bread alone, but by every word that
Yes.
proceedeth, is
Yes.
proceeding, continues to be said
Yes.
from the
Yes.
mouth of God. Okay,
Exactly.
that's how you should live.
Yeah.
So I don't
Absolutely.
mince my words. God has made
Right.
me bold and this is why he had to take me from where I was to make
Mm.
me bold and not
Yeah.
mince my words. I have to set my
Right.
face as flint in front of those who may not believe because they're stuck in one way of thinking. And I
Yeah.
understand because I was there. So I
Right.
understand on both sides where they are, but I'm glad for
Right.
where I am, honey.
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
glad. I'm so thankful for you, Jen. I'm so thankful that you came today. I mean, our time went on and we could talk more and more because there's so much inside of you. You teach women how to pray, how to become empowered. When I hear you preach, I'm like, oh my God, she's a firecracker. And yes, so we say you're little but you're talawa, right? Like you have a lot
Right.
of power in that little body. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you to watch you. You're someone I can emulate, and you're also a peer that God has put in my life. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful that God has shown me people that I can be inspired by who are right around me. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
being my sister in this season of my
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Right? You have prophesied things in my life that you've affirmed me at times when I needed it, and you didn't even know.
Oh,
Like God have
wow.
used you so profoundly in my life. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, Pastor Jen,
Oh,
for your
yeah.
obedience.
Oh, yes, Suzette. Thank you for having me. I know you go as you're led, so I just felt
Yes.
honored that God laid you on my heart. And you're right. It
Thank
feels
you.
like we could talk for hours, but I know people aren't going to
Yes.
sit down and watch us for hours.
They're gonna have to watch for an hour and change, which is fine. They should pay
Yeah,
attention. If you watch half of it, come back and watch the rest later.
right.
It's a lot of meat that you're gonna miss if you don't get all of this. And remember, you can also listen on Spotify and all the other platforms, right? Just driving in
Yeah,
your car. I actually listen to my podcasts, okay? I'm
right.
like, I sometimes I'll be like, so that was a good question. Where did that come from? I'll be like listening to some people, like yourself. I'm like, oh my God, that was so amazing. Like it
Yeah,
ministers to me. So I love when
right.
I have guests come on because it ministers so profoundly, not just to me, but I know someone out there is listening who needed this today. So
Yes,
thanks
definitely.
again. Thanks
You
again,
are
Jen.
welcome.
So we're gonna say goodbye, and I'm definitely gonna catch up with you, and I'll reach out if I need anything from you for sure
Okay.
to add here.
Okay,
Okay,
that sounds good.
and I'll definitely be putting a link below for Link
Okay.
Church. Yes, where people can find where the church is, and if they're interested in joining your ministry.
Right.
Um, I didn't even get to ask you about, some of the other things you're doing right now besides Link. I know you and your husband have been doing you have your videos you post on YouTube. I love watching
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would certainly love to put a link there. So if you can send me that as well, that'd be
Okay.
awesome. Yeah. And
Sure.
you're also an editor. Do you want to quickly talk about that? Like what you're doing as an
Well,
editor?
what's funny, Suzette, is before we went to Jamaica,
Yeah.
God said to me, Jen, why do you keep writing for other people and you're not writing anything I asked you to write?
Okay.
You know what happened after that? We get to Jamaica. We went to Dun Rivers Falls one day, and I decided not to climb because the last time we were in Jamaica, I had climbed, and so I just didn't feel like I wanted to do it again. Mark, his dad, his sister, they're such thrill seekers. I mean, every time they go to Jamaica, they climb the falls as if they've never climbed them.
Oh, those
I'm
slippery
like,
rocks.
yeah, I'm just like, okay, I don't know why you guys keep wanting to get on these things. So, but I literally felt like God was saying, don't even like join them today. And they were even taking the kids just like a little bit. They didn't take them all the way because I was like, please, like, let's not take them to the top.
Yeah.
But I felt like God was just, for some reason, wanted me to hang back.
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't know why I feel like this because I didn't feel afraid. I've done it before. But I said to them, listen, you guys go ahead. I'm just going to stay with Mark's mom who can't climb the falls.
Yeah.
Stayed with her, Suzette. She was talking to this pastor. The pastor, you know, he was a local. So this is a guy that's, you know, he's a Jamaican.
Yeah.
He pastors in Port Antonio.
Okay.
And she said, and he says to me, he looks at me and he says, you know, I see, when I look at you, I see somebody with a pen in their hand. And then he says to me, but why do you keep writing for these other people that are literally sucking you dry of your energy?
Wow.
And now you don't have time to write for God. And my mother-in-law looked at me and she's like, can you resonate with what he's saying? I'm like,
wow.
God just said so. So I have that client that I just finished.
Yes.
And then I have one more client that I'm finishing, but these two ladies both were from 2023. But I haven't taken on a new client since 2023 started. Any client that I'm doing right now is a client that actually started, in 2022. That for some reason, you know, like one lady, the lady I'm finishing now, she has had, since 2020, Suzette, she has had up to like 20 surgeries.
Wow.
Because she was sick. She had a surgeon, and then the surgeon she had didn't even do what he was supposed to do. So she kept getting infections. One of the last times he worked on her, he didn't sew her up properly.
That's terrible.
So she had to find a new surgeon. She said she prayed and just begged God to give her a new surgeon. So she said she just had her 21st surgery and that should be the final one. I'm like, and you're alive to tell the story after 21 surgeries in 3 years?
Wow. That's God.
Yeah. I mean, and if you listen to her talk, I mean, she's one of the most, that's the thing. She's one of my easiest clients and she's the one that's probably been through the most.
Wow.
And she's one of the nicest, reasonable people. Some of these people that are so unreasonable, I'm like, if I wish they haven't been through what this lady's been through.
She probably had the best story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She does. She really, I mean, the stuff, she has overcome abuse, Suzette.
Wow.
She had stepped outside of God's will. I'm talking because I'm like, maybe you need to have her on your podcast.
Okay, listen. Okay, all right. The wheels are turning.
At one point stepped out of God's will and married a Muslim man.
Okay, we need her.
And the level of abuse, I won't even tell you because I think you would want to hear it but the level of abuse she endured at his hand.
Wow.
That alone probably should have taken her out of here. Forget the surgeries. I mean, the level of abuse, but she was like, she grew up in church. She grew up going to church, but I think she talked herself out of it because she felt, she said she'd ended up getting pregnant. And even though it still was not God telling her she should marry him. Yeah. I think she took that because she's in her 50s, I believe. So she's older than us. So, you know, especially that generation, I think she felt the pregnancy stigma.
Oh, wow.
And she said her dad even said to her, her dad wasn't even saved, and he told her, if you married that man, it's not going to be good for you.
Wow.
And she still did it. So she's a testimony of when you need to stop trying to save face and get a divorce.
Yes. And God's grace is what kept her.
Yes.
Only his grace and his mercy.
Yeah. She ended up having 3 children with that man. I mean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, I do thank God for the grace of God that kept me through my 19 years of marriage. It's his grace.
Wow, 19.
19 years, okay?
That's
it's
a
still
long
20.
time when it,
Actually,
when it,
20.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, 19 officially together, but 20 and 21 now. It's like 20 and a half because the divorce will be official in August, the end of this month. So it's
Mm-hmm.
still like going. The year is still going by,
Right.
but we're separated. So we've been separated
Yeah.
since last year. But yeah, that's the undoing takes time. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to link up with this person. God is speaking right now, so
Yeah, I'm gonna
He's
have to give
using
you
me. Then
her number
yes, yes. This
because
is what it's all about. I think God wanted me to have you on today to minister the
yeah.
way you did. It was amazing. I cannot wait to go back and look through this whole thing
Yeah.
and feel empowered all over again. I get to get this a lot of times before I air it.
Right.
So,
Right.
thank you, sis. You mean so much to me, and I just love you, and just thank you for everything. Thank you for being my
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah, I love you too, Suzette. I'm glad that we're sisters. I mean,
Yes.
you guys literally just, ingratiated me as if without like even thinking twice.
Right. Okay. God, it was just a God connection, and we don't
Yeah.
talk all the time, but we that those text messages they keep coming, so we're very much involved in each other's
Yeah,
lives.
exactly.
I'm thankful
Exactly.
for
So
that.
listen,
Hmm.
Suzette, and here's the thing with the last thing I'll say about this lady. Interestingly enough, her book is about her I mean, she's laying it all on the table in this book, the stuff she has me writing. She's literally just leaving no stone unturned because she's
Yeah.
like, she can't come from such a dark place and have overcome and sugarcoated. She just wants women
Yeah.
everywhere that get this book to know that like you can literally come from hell and back.
Wow. I
Because she
cannot
has
wait to
been to
meet her.
hell, Suzette, that lady.
Yeah. And this book is published already?
No, we're finishing it now because when she was going through her
Okay.
surgeries, it held up the whole
Yeah.
process. So we're finishing
Yeah.
it now, but it is going to be ready in time for the
Yes.
holidays.
Okay, awesome. Well, I definitely okay, this you're teaching me something right now as far as the how to keep this going. And so, yeah, I would certainly love to get her on here. And this is
Yeah,
listen, it's a podcast. People talk how we say what we feel on here, okay? While we
exactly.
minister, we say what we feel on here. So, I'm just there is always something available from our mouth to help someone. So,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. I think you would love her, Suzette, because she's just very no nonsense. I mean, after she's
Yeah.
been through what she's been through, she's like she just can't even, and she's
Uh,
thriving now. She owns 2 funeral homes in Houston that are like really
wow.
thriving.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, put me on to her for sure. I
Yeah.
am here. This is something I love doing. God has called me to.
Yeah.
I don't
I
care if it's one or two people listening. Okay. We have
but I love
41
Suzette how
subscribers.
you're like persevering because that's when I realized that you really do have that passion for it and that you're
Yes.
supposed to be doing it because even with all you have going on, you still
Okay.
get these done.
I've been doing it every single week. I was hating the fact that I missed 1 week
Wow.
last week.
Yeah.
Every week I've been doing it. Even after
Yeah.
I said I'm ending one season, I don't even take a break. I'm like, God, I love this. So I thank God for what He's given me. I know He gave it to me. And sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, I mean, it's only 41 subscribers. But I say, if it was one, I'm grateful. Like
Yeah.
people listening and clients will come
Exactly.
to me. One client said she didn't even want to tell me she saw my podcast. But she was, because I don't know why she thought she couldn't tell me, but she was like, she was so inspired by it. And
Yeah.
it just gave her a lot of what she needed. I'm like, oh my God, that's all I needed to hear. So
Yeah.
people I don't know are watching this podcast and it will show a lot of views. But so
Hmm.
I'm going to tell people, y'all need to subscribe too,
Exactly.
help a sister out. So
Exactly.
yeah, subscribe and yeah, it's gonna help someone. Everything may not be for you, but there is something for somebody here. So
Right. Exactly.
yeah, thanks again,
Yeah.
my sister.
Oh, yeah.
And
No problem.
I always have you and Mark in mind. We even shouted y'all out on one of our podcasts, me and my sister, when we did our segment. We're like, shout out to Mark and Jen because we were talking about Link at the
Oh,
time, how
yeah.
Suzanne and Ron were a part of it. So, yeah, I
Right.
love what you guys are doing. I would just say, may the Lord continue to bless the work of your hands as a
Yeah.
couple. Keep doing what
Amen.
you're doing. Okay,
Yes.
sis.
All
Well, with
right.
that, I will let you go.
Okay.
And of course, we'll be in touch.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure. Okay.
Okay, bye, sis.
Bye.
So there you have it. We completed another episode. This episode really was one that I can say should free your mind and your heart from that place you've been stuck in. Jen talked about just knowing your lane, being humble to that call that God has given you and embracing it. When you embrace the call that God has given you, you can walk confidently and in power. God is the one that called you. God is the one that gave it to you. And, I can't help but being churchy because I grew up in church. I'm a church girl. Okay. I can't help but talk about God. I'm also a therapist professionally. So you're getting a mix of both of myself, the professional side as well as the churchy side. And you're probably getting more of the churchy side because that is just personally who I am. And so it's hard for me to get away from that. But I hope that in the middle of all of that, nothing that we say intimidates you here. I want you to know that this is a free, non-judgmental zone. As a therapist, I tell all my clients this. I embrace everyone that comes into the room, the virtual space with me as I counsel them. And God does not turn anyone away who wants to come to him. And so I'm just grateful for her, the testimonies that she shared about her process becoming a pastor and still remaining humble, even with honoring the title that God has given her in the kingdom. And some of you may have been hiding for a while from the calling and from the ministry that God has put in your hands. I know for me, it was a journey. As she was speaking, I remembered, someone I know coming to me, and it was a test of my faith to really believe the calling God put on my life. And this person was talking to me about some other person that he saw that was a pastor, and he was complaining about how she's a woman and she shouldn't be a pastor. And whatever scripture he would find to justify that. um and at one point I got tired of listening to this person tell me this, and I just knew it was the enemy trying to stop me from believing what God had told me. This just happened a few months ago. And I had to tell this person, I don't want to hear it anymore. Don't tell me about this anymore. My grandmother was a pastor. My grandmother just passed. She has left a legacy for me. Why would you tell me this? Right? I just knew the voice of the enemy trying to stop me from my purpose. And so when Pastor Jen spoke today, I knew that God was solidifying what he wanted to solidify in me. And others have affirmed it. But more than that, it's not so much that I'm looking to be called that. I'm Suzette, right? But more than that, I just want to walk and make my calling and election sure. I know I'm chosen of God, and I want you to also know what he's chosen you for, what your purpose is, whether it's to be behind a pulpit or to do what I do to counsel others, or whether it be to be a clerk in a store. There's a calling on your life, a purpose that will impact someone else. So today, do not cower from the ministry and the calling that God has put in your hands, because he's the one that gave it to you. And with that, I'm signing off. It's been a longer episode, but please enjoy it at your leisure, and know that there is something for you. Don't be stuck in a place that God does not design for you to be in, but trust him with all your heart to free your mind, to empower you to do what he's saying to do today. And I hope that you will stay married to his will. God bless you.